Okay, so you should be on Wonders, Wonders Unit 6, page 72. Page 72. Give me a thumbs up if you are there already. Fabulous, fabulous. Who can read the title of this story for me? Who can read the title of this story for me? Akil, can you read it for us? There you go. Wrapped in Ice. Yep, the story we are reading today is called Wrapped in Ice. This week we are talking about how the weather can affect us. The weather has a really big impact in our lives, right? Like if it's snowy and cold, we're probably not going to be wearing shorts and tank tops. So the weather affects what we wear. Christian, please put that down. It's very distracting. The weather affects what we wear. The weather can affect your mood. I know that I'm in a much better mood when it's sunny and warm outside. The weather affects what we do. You're not going to spend a lot of time outside if it's really, really cold. You can't go skiing in July if you're in Michigan at least. So the weather affects the things we do. So the weather affects every day of our lives. So today or this week in reading, we're going to be talking about how the weather affects us. So this story is called Wrapped in Ice. Who can raise their hand and tell me what season does it look like in that picture? What kind of weather do you think they're having in that picture? What season does it look like? Christian.
Winter.
Yeah, it looks like winter. So probably in this story, they're not really going to be...
What page are we on?
Page 72. They're not really going to be doing things outside. They're probably not going to be doing things that involve like being in shorts or like cooler clothes because it's cold outside, right? So we're going to read to find out how the icy weather affects their neighborhood. For example, in our neighborhood, when it's rainy or snowy or cold, we might have a snow day. If it's icy, you might go sledding, you might stay inside. It's harder to get places because the roads are bad. So we're going to read to find out how the icy weather affects this neighborhood. Do we think this is a fiction or a nonfiction story? Is this a fiction or a nonfiction story? Hendrix, what do you think, babe?
I have food in my mouth.
You don't what?
I have food in my mouth, so one second.
Okay.
It's gonna be a non-fiction story.
You think
Actually, fiction
Yeah.
story.
Yeah, it's fiction, because if you take a look at that picture, it looks like it's drawn to me. It looks like the characters in the story might not be real. This is a fiction story. This is going to be a realistic fiction story, which means that it's a story that is fiction, it's made up, but it could happen. Everything in the story are things that could happen in real life. We read a lot of fantasy stories in first grade. We've read a lot of fantasy this year. And fantasy fiction is something that couldn't happen in real life, right? Like we see animals talking and just things happening that would never happen in real life. But this is a realistic fiction story, which means that all of the things that happen in our story could realistically happen. They could happen in real life. So let's go ahead and start to read and find out how the weather affects their neighborhood. So go ahead and flip your page. So you're on the top of page 74. And I'll start reading at the top of page 74. It says, "The sound of something hitting the window woke Kim up. Ping, ping, ping. What's that?" Kim asked herself. "What do you think it's going to be?" Based on the title of our story, Wrapped in Ice, what do you think Kim is hearing hit her window? Mohammed, what do you think?
Snow.
Snow?
Ice.
Snow or ice, yeah. Snow or ice is hitting her window. Good. It says Kim peeked outside. The trees were coated with ice. The yard sparkled. The driveway was like a skating rink. Even the car was wrapped in an icy design. "Mom, why is everything covered in ice?" Kim wanted to know. "That's a good question," said Mom. "Good thing I'm a science teacher. It's raining, but the air is so cold. So the raindrops freeze when they land on cold surfaces like signs, trees, and roads. So it is rain that's coming out of the sky, But because it's so cold, it's turning into ice. Good. Go ahead and flip your page. Go ahead and flip your page. So you're on the top of page 76. The top of page 76, it says, Mom turned on the TV to the weather station. A reporter said, a winter storm has hit part of the country. Freezing rain is making streets and roads icy. We advise you to stay inside. Children can stay home. Schools will be closed. So they have a snow day today, right? It says, we have a snow day, cried Kim. You mean an ice day, laughed Mom. Suddenly, all of the lights went out. What happened? Why do you think all of their lights turned off? Why do you think all of their lights turned off? What happened? Isabella, what do you think happened?
I think because of the winter, the lights were turned off because all the snow was getting on and it can't handle it.
Yeah, the power went out. So because the ice, sometimes when there's bad ice storms, it causes the power to go out. I'm honestly not really sure why. We might have to look that up. But because of all of the ice storms, the power went out. So maybe they'll tell us why. It says, suddenly all the lights went out. I guess some icy tree branches broke, said Mom. They must have knocked down power lines. We won't have any power until the lines are fixed. Kim looked worried, but Mom said, let's just pretend we're camping. So because the tree branches got so frozen, it caused them to break and maybe fall onto a power line, and that knocked the power out. Yes, Antonia?
Is this the page 76?
Yep. So go ahead and flip your page now. We are on the top of page 78. 78. It says, Mom lit the logs in the fireplace. Kim got flashlights. They played lots of games. It was fun to eat their lunch by the fire. Then Mom said, listen. The ping, ping, ping had stopped. The storm must be over, said Kim. So they didn't hear the ice hitting their windows anymore, so the storm was done. It says, up and down the street, people came outside. There was so much to do. Everyone worked together. They put sand on the sidewalks. Why do you think they did that? Why do you think they did that? Why would they put sand on the sidewalks when it's icy? Why would they put sand on the sidewalks when it's icy? Boris, why do you think they did that?
Because the snow to be melting.
Yeah, so you know how sometimes in the winter you see salt on the sidewalks? You see they put that salt down. We see it in the parking lot at school. It looks blue sometimes. That's to help the ice melt so that it's not as slippery. So it says they put sand on the sidewalks. They broke up the ice. Noses got red. Brr. The air was very cold. I made a fire in the fireplace, Mom called out. Come on in and warm up. Yes, Antonia.
I can't find the page.
Well, now we're on page 80, so you can flip your page, everybody, so you're on page 80. Santonia, if you still can't find it, ask your grandma for help, honey. Yes, Wasi.
We have snow.
Yeah, we get snow here in Michigan. This is a realistic fiction story because it's something that could happen, especially here in Michigan. We get storms like this all the time in the winter. Yes, Lima. You have to hit your mute button, honey. I can't hear you.
What we're doing?
We're in our Wonders book on page 80. Wonders Unit 6. So the top of page 80, it says, neighbors came with flashlights and snacks. Miss Knox brought cider. Mr. Wright told about the year it snowed in the month of May. Kim told knock-knock jokes. It snowed in the month of May this year. Do you guys remember that? It says, it's nice when everyone gathers together, said Mom. Just then the lights came on. Everyone cheered. It's been a big day, smiled Mom. We were lucky to be cozy and safe. We are lucky to have such great neighbors, too, said Kim. We turned an ice day into an ice party. Good.
So
Yes.
we're at 80.
Yep. So that is the end of the story. So who can raise their hand and retell this story for me? Who can raise their hand and tell me what happened in this story? What was it about? Who can give me a recap? Isabella.
Um, so, so it was winter and, there was snow. So the ice storm was coming, so they all gathered up together. And the mom told the kids to come inside because their noses were red. And then the neighbors came, brought snacks, and then everybody had a great time.
Good. That was a really good recap. Does anybody want to do another one?
Shabelsky,
Yes.
what page are you guys on?
We're on page 81. Does anybody want to give me another recap of this story? Santonia?
Like, how when it was cold, everything was frozen, and so they were wearing hats and jackets, but now that they're warm and safe at home, now they have a good time.
Yeah. Yeah, this happens a lot in Michigan, right? Can you guys think of a time that this happened in Michigan? You don't have to tell me, just think about it. I can think of lots of times this happened in Michigan. Like, I remember one time when I was a kid, there was a really bad ice storm in, I want to say it was in April, and it caused a blackout, which was when all of the power goes out. Everybody's power goes out, and it was really cold, and I remember doing something similar. I remember spending time with my neighbors and having fires and doing things like that. So I like reading stories like this. I like reading realistic fiction stories because you can connect them to your own life. You can relate them to things that have happened in your life that you remember. Since we all live in Michigan, we all have remembered a time where it was snowy or icy or cold, right? So go ahead and flip your book now. Give me just a second. To page 85. Open your book up to page 85. Yes, Boris.
I am in Michigan. I see a big rainstorm, and our light is really down, and I am scared, and I'm scared.
Yeah, you can remember a time that your power went out that you were a little bit scared? Okay, go ahead and flip your books to page 84 and 85. Give me a thumbs up when you are there. Give me a thumbs up when you are there. Page 84.
Mr. Musk, can you see my thumbs up?
What, honey?
I want to 84.
Yep. Good. So I'm going to read to you guys on the top of page 84. It tells us about a realistic fiction. It says, realistic fiction is a made-up story that could happen in real life. It uses dialogue to show something about a character to add details to the story. So dialogue is kind of a big word. Dialogue means conversation. So the things that the characters in our story are saying. So the two main characters in our story were Kim and her mom, and then their neighbors. So the conversations, what Kim and her mom were talking about, that's dialogue. And they use dialogue in a realistic fiction story to add details and to tell us about characters. So on that chart on page 85,
Tabaski,
yes.
I can see you.
You can't see me? Well, can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right, well, just listen for a little bit. I'm not sure why you can't see me. Here, try this. You might need to start your video, Mabuba. So anyway, so we're going to talk about a couple of pages, and I'm going to reread to you what some of the things our characters said and what that taught us about our characters. So on page 75, you don't need to flip back, I'll just read it. On page 75, Kim goes downstairs and she asks her mom, "Mom, why is everything covered in ice? Why is everything covered in ice?" What do you think that tells us about Kim? What does that tell us about Kim? She's what? If she's asked, she's wondering why everything is covered in ice. What does that tell us about her? She's what? Akil, what does that tell us?
She's curious.
She's curious. Yeah, very good. She's curious. She's wondering, "Mom, why is everything covered in ice?" She's asking a question to find out more details. So she's curious. So in that chart, your chart looks similar to this. It's a box like this. Oops. Right? So they want us to know what the character says. So in the first box, you can write Kim asks about the ice, and that tells us that she is curious. So I'll hold that up so you guys can see it. That's what you're filling in on your chart. Kim asks about the ice, which tells us that she is curious.
Zabrowski,
What?
I didn't write both of those.
Well, write them now.
I can't see. Miss Zabrowski,
What?
what's the word after the C, Kimmy?
This word?
Yeah.
Asks. A-S-K-S.
What's after ask?
Honey, just copy it down. The word is about. Give me a thumbs up when you're done.
I'm done.
You don't need to tell me, just give me a thumbs up.
Zabrowski,
Yes?
the
Okay, once again, you don't need to say it, just give me a thumbs up.
ice.
Thank you, Christian. Thank you, Boris. Thank you, Maram. Yes, Antonia, do you have a question? What, Santonia?
Can't see the first one.
You can't see it?
Yeah, I can't see the first one we're doing.
What do you mean you can't see it? Can you see it now?
I see Isabella.
Oh, okay. Well, everybody needs to be on mute so that this stay. Everyone put your camera or yourself on mute so that it stays on me. Can you see it now, Santonia? You should be able to see it now.
Missy, what can we see next?
Not yet. Thank you, Lima. Take about 10 more seconds. If you don't finish, that's okay. I'll show the whole thing at the end. Thank you, Sorboni.
We're done?
Not yet, I'm Boris. All right, let's talk about the bottom box. The bottom box. On page 79 is when they're all outside. And Kim's mom says, I made a fire in the fireplace, Mom called out to everyone. Come on in and warm up. What does that tell us about Kim's mom? What might that tell us about Kim's mom? What kind of person she is? What does that tell us about Kim's mom? Isabella, hit your mute button.
She's nice.
She's nice. Yeah, she's welcoming. She invited the whole neighborhood in to warm up. So Kim's, or we'll just write mom instead. Says mom invites everyone over. And that tells us that she is kind. She's a kind person. She invites everybody in the whole neighborhood into their house because they had a fire pit and it was cold. So go ahead and copy that down. When you are all done copying that down, you can go ahead and log off if you don't have any questions.